All right, Vicky is playing catch up. If you saw my post on here or on Instagram, I took last week off because Daisy passed away. And I know some of y'all were just here to catch a glimpse of her on a stream or something. So if you unsubscribe, I understand. But to be quite blunt, I'm depressed AF right now. But luckily there are a ton, and I like actually mean a ton, of new horror movies coming out this month. It feels like every week something's hitting theaters or Shudder or something. I feel like we are being fed, truly. And I'm grateful because I can escape reality for a little bit. So pretty much all this month is gonna be movie reviews. So to start off this whole almost entire month of movie reviews, we're gonna start with A Woman in the Yard, which is the latest from, at least for me, hit or miss Blumhouse. Directed by Jaume Collet-Serra, the movie follows Ramona, who is injured from a car accident that took the life of her husband, as she now has to take care of her 2 kids in their rural farmhouse alone. One day, a mysterious woman draped in black appears on the front lawn. As she moves closer and closer to the house, Ramona realizes the woman knows things about her family she couldn't possibly know. And I'm just gonna start with what I feel like everybody is talking about with this movie. It feels done before, but more so than the normal, like, oh, this is a horror movie about grief and loss, because like most horror movies are, as horror deals so often with death. So I'm not harping on that fact. It's more, at least for me, it's more about like the shadow stuff. Like there were just specific things that felt very similar to other movies, and the shadow stuff in particular felt super similar to Lights Out for me. Same with the ending, and that's kind of where I'm like, ugh, because I'm not a big fan of the ending of Lights Out. I think we talked about it on A Does This Offend You once, but the idea of the end of Lights Out kind of supporting suicide almost as a solution to grief and depression, like it's framed in a way in both movies actually for the mother to save her family by unaliving herself. Now, the ending of A Woman in the Yard has a couple of interpretations. Some saying that Ramona does survive at the end, and the backwards writing we see in the final frame of the movie signifies that she's no longer separating the worlds of her family and her internal pain anymore. And some people are taking it at face value that Ramona does commit suicide, and what we see immediately after is kind of like her afterlife or her purgatory or something, where she's kind of stuck in it's a happy life with her children on the farm perpetually, I suppose. I think both interpretations are correct, and you can read both in the story. We can't ignore that at least one of those interpretations of the ending of the movie is kind of harmful. I'm all for a dark and bleak ending, but playing with that idea in particular I think is really tricky to navigate. I personally was finding it hard to stop comparing this to Lights Out when I was watching the movie, especially with the shadow stuff being the source of the woman's power, essentially. If I'm gonna compare them though, I think The Woman in the Yard was a lot scarier. The idea of her just like sat in the yard draped in this mourning shawl, like super simple, super scary, plus the idea that she's like called to be there. I always love the idea of like unintentionally or unconsciously calling on an old power. It's a really scary concept to me. It's just kind of like a reminder that this earth is really old, and there are religions and belief systems and beings that are way older than the ones that we are familiar with today. So when we see those ideas like kind of brought into a modern setting, that's like super scary to me. And I think that's what makes like the woman, I guess I'll call her the woman, so scary. And I thought there were layers to the scares, of course, with the family dynamic. We have a caregiver, a parent, a provider going through something very real and potent without any help, and that leads to some really harsh and scary scenes that families go through all the time in the real world. Like just the family dynamic stuff was like scary and heartbreaking enough without adding the supernatural element. So overall, I thought there were some good things happening with the movie. I just didn't feel like it brought anything ultimately new to the table. The themes being one thing, but kind of certain specifics of the movie feeling like they were repeated was a little I would be interested, however, in seeing another movie with this woman figure, Death maybe, if we want to call her, I don't really know. Would love to see some other stuff with her in it, like this idea of her coming back and coming to other people for various things. I feel like she was a standout to me in this movie. I thought she was creepy as shit. I wouldn't not watch another movie about her. So on Letterboxd, it seems like a lot of people are rating this quite low, so I'm very curious as to what you guys think. This has been out I'm a little bit behind, so I assume a lot of you have already seen it, so I'd love to hear in the comments what you thought about it. But as far as Blumhouse is concerned, this is gonna go in the miss category for me. Like I said, this month is predominantly going to be movie reviews, so I'm playing a little bit of catch up this week, and then I'll be back on track with everybody next week. So another movie review coming this weekend. Until then, stay strange. Bye.